Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Miller. I'm a stroke survivor and grateful recovering alcoholic. And today I wanted to talk about how step 3 of my sobriety program can be reimagined for stroke recovery. So far I've talked about step 1 and step 2 and how I've been able to apply them to my stroke recovery. Just to recap, 1 was when I finally, I had been going through 2 years of denial and trying to work through the pain and just not admitting that anything was wrong with me. And I finally got to the point where I couldn't even function anymore. My life was unmanageable. I could not work and deal with the symptoms that I was experiencing. And so I had to make a decision, and that was to prioritize my health and walk away from work because I couldn't do both of them. And then the next thing I had to do pretty quickly after that, which is for me a reimagined step 2, is realize that I needed to seek help outside of myself, that I wasn't going to be able to do it on my own. And that help actually started before I even recognized that my life had become unmanageable, that I could not continue to manage work and my life with the pain that I was experiencing, because I had people reaching out to me, providing help to me, trying to provide me guidance in the direction that I needed to go, and provide me suggestions about how I needed to see it, go back to the doctor and take care of myself. So next would be step 3. And so step 3 in my sobriety program is about turning our will and our life over to a higher power. That's what it is in the sobriety program. And just as with step 2, this need to find help outside of myself. I've kind of redefined higher power in stroke recovery to be Team Rachel, right? Doctors and friends and family. And it just so happens my network in sobriety has also been carried over easily to because I need that sort of support still with sobriety and mental health as I'm dealing with stroke recovery. But in addition to that, a network with other stroke survivors. So this higher power concept, as I mentioned in previous episodes, is really anything outside of myself, because I can't do it on my own. So step 3 is all about surrendering and humility and trusting in others, trusting in this higher power, and in this case, Team Rachel. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how this can be broken down in stroke recovery, and what does it mean when you're on a path of recovery from a stroke to turn your will and your life over to the care of Team Rachel. Because really, the 2 years before I walked away from work, I was trying to control what was happening in my life. I was trying to manage everything, my pain, my work, my family, my incredibly high maintenance dogs, and I couldn't do it. And so what I needed to do is now that I've said, okay, I can't do this on my own. It seems like it's almost the same step, but it's not. Step 2 is saying is making that acknowledgement that I can't do it on my own. Step 3 is, okay, I'm going to put all my trust into Team Rachel, right? Because I can't manage anything. All I can do is take care of my mental health. That's really all I can do. I can make sure that I give my body the nutrients that it needs, that I exercise in any way that I can, that I take care of this body of mine and this mind of mine. But other than that, I need to trust in all of these medical professionals that have spent their lives for exactly this, to be able to help somebody like me. So, it's a huge step to be able to just kind of throw your hands up. And this is something that I've mentioned before that I do before I go to bed every night in my sobriety program. So, I get on my knees and I pray beside my bed, and I've talked about how this isn't something that I did my whole life or anything. This is brand new, brand spanking new, like over the past 3 or 4 years, and it's really gives me a sense of comfort. I almost feel like I'm just a little girl again. It really shrinks me down to size and humbles me. um, it's a way of doing this like daily surrender. Like, I've done all I can today. I've done all I can. The rest is up to you. And just, my only job right now is to get in this bed, try to get a full night's sleep, and hopefully have good dreams while I'm doing it. And then I can get up and start again tomorrow. So this is something that I do before bed, and it feels good because it's kind of an acknowledgement that I'm not bringing any of my problems to bed with me. Somebody told me once, you can put all your problems on your nightstand and they will be there when you wake up in the morning. Like, you do not have to bring them to bed with you. And I absolutely love that concept of just putting my problems on my nightstand. And so I imagine that. I really do. I imagine that before I go to bed. So here are some of the ways that I feel that this step 3, this idea of turning my will and my life over to Team Rachel for stroke recovery. This is how I break it down a little bit. So, first of all, just like in sobriety, we admit our powerlessness over alcohol, and we have to acknowledge in the same way in stroke recovery that I cannot control any of this. The initial stroke itself, like, this is all out of my control. There's nothing I can do about it. I cannot, sometimes I want to cry about this, and I haven't cried about it, but I think, I'm never gonna be the same. I was thinking a couple nights ago, I was thinking, I'll never eh, I'll never be the same again. Um, no matter what, I'll never be the same again. And that's a tough pill to swallow, you know? I don't know to what capacity, obviously, I'll never be the same again. But I know that my brain is broken now. It's not, I don't have the perfect brain anymore. And that's what I felt like. Maybe I wasn't as smarter than everybody else or anything, but I had a perfectly put together brain, and it's never going to be like that ever again in my whole life. And that makes me really sad. But I have to recognize that this is no different than all the other things that happen in my life that I have no control over. This just happens to be a bigger deal. This happens to be something that has a serious impact on my way of life. But there was a lot of other things that have happened in my life that had a serious impact on my way of life, for sure. And so I just have to acknowledge that I'm powerless over this. Again, that drives me in the direction of, if I don't have control over any of this, then I need a whole team that's going to help me handle it. So the next part is humility. So humility plays a huge role in sobriety. And so recognizing the need for humility in stroke recovery can also apply. Understanding that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to lean on others. Like check your ego at the door, and just ask for help and guidance, whether that's from a professional, a therapist, or, this is what my full-time job right now is, seeking professional help. That's what I'm doing all the time. And when I'm not seeking professional help and making appointments and stuff, I'm going to these support groups, whether it's for sobriety or it's for my stroke. And so accepting that vulnerability is not a weakness. And I've talked about this several times, that it takes a stronger person to be able to identify a weakness and say, yeah, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to work on that weakness instead of hiding it, and acting like it's not there. So the next one is identifying the higher power. So I've talked about this already. Team Rachel is what I'm putting together as my higher power for stroke recovery. In sobriety, traditionally it has more of a spiritual context, but for some people it does just represent support systems and resources available to us. So for me, my higher power in stroke recovery is my medical team, support groups, family, and anywhere else that I find strength and guidance. I probably am using my same higher power that I have in my sobriety as another layer of all of this in my stroke recovery. So it's like I've actually built a larger higher power for all of this stuff going on. It doesn't matter what it is. Again, it's anything outside of yourself. As long as you are not solely relying on yourself and trying to find the answers within you. Because I did that. I did that for way too long, and my best thinking, again, keeps me drunk and keeps me in pain, when I don't have to be. So, and the next part is trusting the process. When newcomers come into sobriety, there is this hesitation. For me, I looked at other people and everybody's laughing and I'm like, what the hell do they all have to be happy about? Like, this is terrible. None of us can drink again. I've, I'm losing everything. Everything is like crap right now. And all these people are laughing. And it's just like either this is like a cult or they're all crazy. That's what it felt like. I thought there's no way that they understand the depth of my alcoholism. Like, I get it that they all drank a lot, but there's no way that these people understand how much I just cannot function without alcohol. Well, of course, I was wrong. And when I sat in these meetings, I just kept hearing my story coming out of somebody else's mouth. I kept hearing, the impact alcohol has on these other people's lives, and it was how I felt, and somebody else was saying it. So, so trusting in the process, and for me, I need to understand that healing takes time. And I think it takes a heck of a lot more time than I'm wanting to spend. But, I need to have faith that even though it's really difficult to get in with these doctors, it's like I have a doctor's appointment, then I have to wait 2 months for the next doctor's appointment. And that can be really frustrating. But what else do I have to do right now? Like, what I want to do is like fast track it all so I can get my life back to the way it's supposed to be. Well, maybe this is the way it's supposed to be. There's a lesson in this part of my process. And so I need to soak it all in and be present in this part of the process. Next part, setting personal goals. So in step 3 in sobriety, we're making a commitment to doing that, throwing your hands up and saying, uh, it's your way, not my way, kind of thing. And so I think in the same way, setting clear goals, like clear commitments to where you want to be, what your objectives are. And I do that, I think, fairly regularly. I definitely come on here a lot and I'm talking about this or that objective and goal. It keeps me going. It keeps me interested in, moving on, waking up the next day and achieving something else. And of course, this podcast is a huge part of that. But I've done things like getting back into yoga. I've got all my little exercise programs that I do, and I've got my sewing, hobbies. That's what keeps me mentally going. Let's see. So next is seeking guidance and support. So in sobriety, we have sponsors, which are just like mentors. And so it's important to find people in the stroke community that what we call it in sobriety is they have what I want. You see, just like I was saying, we go to the meetings and we see people laughing and stuff, and you think, they have what I want. I want to feel that way. I want to feel happy. And it's the same thing. Like, I have already run across lots of people in stroke recovery that I'm like, I want to feel like that. I want to feel grateful. I want to feel like I am committed. I want to feel like I'm sure that I'm going to get better, that kind of thing. So, keeping an eye out for people who are living the life that you are interested in living, like, have that guidance and encouragement. And so next is patience. practice surrender and patience. And surrendering is a huge part of sobriety. That's what I do every night before I go to bed. Thy will be done, not mine. That's what I say right before I go to bed every night. And it has always, it rolls off my tongue right now, which is pretty funny because when I first started doing it, I felt awkward. I didn't know who I was talking to even, but I just do it. I just acted as if, and now I feel so much better. Like when I say, Thy will be done, not mine, it just makes me feel like, I don't have to keep trying to control anything anymore. It's the level of energy that I put in trying to control things is doing nothing. It's doing nothing. It's not changing anything. Then if I just relax and let life happen a little bit. So practicing surrender and patience and um, setting aside some time every day to have daily reflection and gratitude. I mentioned yesterday, my daughter said to me, you know what a good thing is that you're going to all these doctors and you get to just check off all the things that aren't wrong with you. So in the time that I'm going to all these doctors and they can't seem to find out what's wrong with my vision and my head, she's right. I'm checking off all of these wonderful things that aren't wrong with me. So finding a way to journal or do mindfulness exercises. This podcast is my huge journaling and um, finding, sorry, this podcast is a way of me reflecting every day and being grateful and just recapping what I was feeling that day. And I think so. The last one would be just continual improvement. So I talked about how it takes time and you need surrender and patience, but just like sobriety, I work sobriety one day at a time. And that's a familiar statement to anyone who is not even sober. That's what alcoholics do. We practice one day at a time. And there are some people who, they get 5 years into sobriety or something, and their family or their husband or wife, they say, "Are you still going to those meetings? Aren't you done? Aren't you done with that?" Well, it's a lifelong commitment. It's not, you don't go for like a year, 5 years, 10 years, and then you're done. It's a lifelong commitment. And similarly, I need to look at my stroke as a lifelong commitment to self-improvement and continue to explore new therapies, adapt to changes, and continue to grow in whatever way I can with this new version of me. So I think that it really is amazing to me that I'm able to just draw so many parallels to my sobriety program, and it's just keeping me strong because I'm familiar with it. And I've said before, I feel like my sobriety was practice for this big test here so that I can practice surrendering to something else that I can't control, and humility and trusting in other people and making a commitment. And I think that using the sobriety program as a framework for my healing and stroke recovery is just a blessing for me. That I have it, that I've been doing it for over 7 years and I know it. I'm not a professional because we're never professionals at it. It's still, I'm a student every day. I'm just able to, I guess start a new class and bring my notebook over to the new class and just start applying what I know, and know that I'm not alone, and my future is gonna get brighter, and there's stuff that's, who knows what's going to happen, right? It's kind of exciting. Who knows what's going to happen? The direction that I thought my life was going into is completely different, but it's probably still going to be kind of cool. So we'll see what happens. So thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.